right. Hello, everyone. We're live. I'm excited to be here today with my friend Kare talking about building some better back to school routines. We're all in the midst of it, whether it is already upon us or about to happen, depending on where you live. And I know transition times can be a challenge for a lot of families. And so I'm excited to have this conversation today to really support all of you out there who may be having a little bit of a rougher time going into back to school, or even if you're not and you're just wanting to streamline things, you're wanting to just have a more peaceful, harmonious household. This is definitely the right conversation for you to be listening to. So thank you for joining us. And my name's Jodie Solberg. For those of you who don't know me yet, I am a certified master hypnotherapist. I am a Golden Sleep Talk Method parenting consultant. And what I do is I specialize in really helping you and your family to embrace the communication that's going to speak to yours and your children's subconscious mind, so you can create more of that peace, joy, and harmony in that household. Have more optimal health, success, emotional regulation, and resilience. All wonderful things. And I also help people heal from things like trauma, anxiety, burnout, and embrace neurodivergence. And all of those things can contribute to some of those transitional challenges. A lot of the things that we go through as we're going from this, lovely summer where we have a little bit more sometimes space and time freedom to back to that structure, back to the busyness of that fall season. And it can be a little bit of a transition. So, Kare, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and what you do and what some of the challenges are that you see with families, your own experience and professionally working with families of some of those things that maybe are a little rougher in the transition back to school.
Yes, it can be definitely a time of transition. Well, I am a kitchen coach, and so I help moms make dinner time easy. That's the short version of what I do. I'm a former personal chef. I was in the homes of moms, seeing what the challenges were, why had they hired me, what did they feel like they weren't able to do that they needed a chef, because we all joke about that, like, oh, I'd love a personal chef. But a lot of moms really want to be the one that cooks for their family. And so I help moms do that. And I do it definitely around routines. And so I just love this topic because it is really all about getting a routine down. I like to say you're just putting it on autopilot, right? Because we want to think as little as possible about something that does happen every day, right? It makes sense to make dinner a routine because it happens over and over and over again, right? And so if you can use your energy that you have left at the end of the day, your focus, your brain power to really be there with your family, be present, connect around the table, and not having to put it into the figuring out dinner part, then the time around the table is just totally changed. And it's something that can be calm and peaceful and really a good quality time, because our schedules are busy, right? Our kids are busy, we're busy. And so we're running around and don't often feel like we have those good touch points with our family. And so this really allows you to have that. So that's really what I'm about, and what I focus on is, I like to say, and I know Jodie uses this idea of temperature. I like to say, turn the temperature down on dinner time. And I think she's going to talk about that a little bit. I like her use of it a little bit better than my own, but that's kind of what it is, right? It's like turning the temperature down on the whole thing so everybody isn't so revved up. And that can be what happens during times of transition, right? And so that's really what it is just kind of turning all that down and getting to a routine quickly with the new year, the new school year, the new season, and just allowing it to be really, really smooth. And so I'd say that's one of the biggest challenges that I see in my community, the moms in my community, is really just how do you show up to the table calm? How do you show up not frazzled? not spending all your time in the kitchen, not having to figure out dinner every day or every week that rolls around. It's like, okay, I got to do this again, and really getting into a routine where it's on autopilot. You know what to expect, your family knows what to expect, and it's just a calm time.
Yeah, if you're not having to expend so much mental, emotional, physical like, energy, effort every single day at the end of a long day to try to figure out dinner, like you said, if it can just be part of a routine, you know what to expect, then you can have that intentional quality connection
Mhm.
with your family. You can slow down and be fully present, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. And yes, I will definitely share the
Mhm.
thermostat thermometer
Yes.
example that I use with clients because yeah,
Mhm.
I teach parents how to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. And what that means is, if you're a thermometer, then your temperature goes up and down based on your environment and what's going on around you. And often, we're teaching our kids we're trying to teach our kids how to regulate that as well because they're like little thermometers and they're reacting to all the things. And so, if you're as a parent, the thermostat in your house, you're setting the temperature in your house. If you think of the little digital thermostat on the wall, or even the old school, manual ones too, you're setting a temperature and then the heat, the air, whatever it is, goes on and off to regulate to that temperature, right? So it's all about, being the one who's regulating so that everyone else can co-regulate with you
Mhm.
so that you're setting that tone. You're saying, okay, like this is where we're at. My clients call it the window of okayness. In psychology, it's the window of capacity. But window of okayness is way more fun, especially when you're working with families. And so, this is the zone. This is the like that 68 to 72. A lot of us love to have our houses in,
Mm.
right? This is
Mhm.
that emotional version of that where it's we can handle this. We've got this. It's figure outable. Everything's okay. Right. And there is a spectrum there. There's a window there of
Mhm.
a few degrees. But when we go anxious, angry, irritated, frustrated, those types of things, we go up out of the window. And then below would be more like withdrawing and isolating and more depressed, things like that versus
Mhm.
anxious, angry, fearful, those higher emotions. So what tends to happen is that somebody does something and then we emotionally react because our emotional parts of our brains move 4 times faster than the thinking part. And
Mhm.
so we emotionally react and then they emotionally react and then we keep ramping up and everything escalates. Right. So there's this tension, there's this stress, there's frustration, there's tantrums or defiance or whatever it is that is ramping everybody up and we don't want to all be going up together out of that window. We want to set that thermostat right in that window where we can have things like routines that can help us with that. Absolutely. We can have tools and resources, and I teach parents how to have the responses. Like you said, being mentally prepared is huge so that you know how to respond versus react in a way that is going to be most effective. Just like you're saying, care for you, you're helping them create these routines and these systems to be able to be prepared, to know what to expect, to have a plan for that so
Mhm.
that they can really create. And this is what I love that you talk about so much is the culture, right?
Mhm.
You can create that culture, you can create that temperature, you can set that for that dinner time, that mealtime routine, which can be a really grounding space for families. That's
Mhm.
something that sometimes we hear people talk about how way back when families sat around the dinner table and then as technology increased and as people got busier and the world got fuller and louder and more distracting, people stopped doing that as much, and it's such a benefit to have that routine where you can slow down, you can touch base, you can have that quality time, you can have those really quality conversations and really slow down and hear what's going on with each other and be fully present with one another. So I think what you do is so important because we talk about transition seasons, but that's a transition time. Everybody getting home,
Mhm. Mhm.
everybody getting settled in, all of those things in those transition times are crucial, really. We need to have a transition time and we need to have that time to slow down, ground, reconnect, and have some quality time as a family because otherwise, we're just all over the place and never have that chance to really, find out what's going on in each other's lives. We
Mhm.
don't slow down enough sometimes to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really is about slowing down. And I love that you said, I love that window that you have where it's figure outable because something in my world that it is a term I use a lot, but it's not really one that I love. We talk about meal planning, right? And that's a word that everybody kind of understands. Um, but really, it goes so much beyond that. And a lot of the things you said just go right along with that because meal planning, yeah, I'm going to give you and help you set up that routine that gets the dinner on the table, right? And that is a lot focused on mom or whoever's putting the meal on the table, right? And I always say meal planning is self care, getting that together for yourself so that part's easy for you. But then when you are in that transition window, that time of day, um, you do want to feel like you are in that space of this is figure outable when you have a picky eater, everyone, and maybe you mentioned anxious, and I'll add hungry in there, right? That doesn't help anything.
Hungry slash hangry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's, the end of a long day. Somebody's not on time. Maybe you have, an ingredient went bad. What happens in my house a lot is I buy ingredients for meals, and someone will eat the ingredient before I can make the meal, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so these things, right, they can come up, they can pop up. And so that meal plan that you have in place is great, right? And that is a really good foundation. But then we also have to look at real life when somebody does say, I don't want to eat this, or there is something, a late meeting pops up. How do you still feed your family? Maybe your kids have sports events and they fall during dinner time, right? That's frustrating. And so it's really both sides. It is just like you said, having those tools and those resources for the things that pop up that you can't necessarily plan for because we know the unexpected is going to happen, right? We just don't know exactly what that's going to look like. And so it's really both sides of it, having that routine that is just on autopilot. You do it each week and it's your foundation. And then having those strategies and tools and resources on top of that for the things that can come up. And that is absolutely an area that I help my clients with because the meal planning piece of it only gets you so far, which is really something that my programs do that really set them apart because you can find meal plans all over the internet, right? You can find routines. Pinterest is full of here's your family routine, right, for the new school year, and that's great until the unexpected happens. And how do I handle that? And so you mentioned, something that I talk about around the table is culture, right? And
Mhm.
so do we have a culture of this is figure outable, right? We're all on the same team, right? And that's something that I talk to my clients a lot about is having those conversations with their families about dinner isn't just mom, what did you make for us tonight? Right?
Mhm.
That's not the culture. The culture is we're a team, right? And whatever that looks like, age appropriate things that your family can do to help you, or maybe it's just we're on the same team. And so when mom serves something new, we're all going to try it, right? The first
Mhm.
thing we do is not, I hate that, I'm not eating tonight, right? And so you can really set that tone and that culture around your table. And while it is, as moms, we have such a big impact on that. Our vibe, our temperature, really does set the tone. around the table. And so that can be a big responsibility, but it's also our biggest opportunity to set the tone that we want to set. And so, yeah, you just said so many things that, just really resonate with me and what I do with families around the dinner table, and just setting that tone, setting that culture of this is a team, and we're all going to be in this together. And I imagine a lot of moms are listening to this thinking, well, you don't know my kid, my husband, that's not going to happen. But I have clients come to me all the time who feel the same way. And basically it comes down to, there's so much that you can do as the mom to set the tone. And that is what we focus on. We're not trying to change anybody else. You can't control anyone else's behavior, but what can you do? And there are so many powerful things that you can do to be that thermostat and not be just in reaction mode. Because the end of the day, you're hungry, everybody's in reaction mode. And
Mhm.
so you can really, really turn that around. So yeah, so powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, so many good points there. When people are hungry, tired, whatever it is, yeah, tend to go more into that reactionary mode. And so how do you set that culture and that tone? That's such an important piece there. And we can do so much more than we think. We have
Mm.
so much more control, like you said, than we think we do. And yeah, not to change others, but to be that thermostat, to set that tone and that temperature, and the way that we present things.
Mm.
It's just little tweaks. I often am telling parents that it's not, changing everything. It's usually just these little shifts, these little tweaks in the way you present it, the way you say it, that culture that you set, that can be received in a different way.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so you can shift some of those patterns, those cycles that you are seeing, especially those reactionary ones, by just doing things a little differently, saying things just in a different way, so that we're really working as, like, I love that you said that, as a team. That's the culture, that we work together. And whatever that looks like, there's a lot of ways that it could look,
Mm-hmm.
but making sure that you're, you know, doing what you can. And that's why we teach those things, right? To be able to get a different result, to get a better result, those more positive behaviors. Or we want to encourage those. And sometimes, in order to get a different result, you have to change things up a little bit, do a little something different. And so I would love for you to share about your challenge that you have coming up, because if people are like, okay, this sounds like,
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what I would do differently, or like you said, you don't know my kid, or you don't know my husband. It's my husband that always eats the ingredients, by the way. I have to, set it aside and be like, don't touch this.
Yes.
Because yeah, we'll eat everything in sight. Otherwise, I'm like,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
he's reverting back to teenage boy dumb over
Yeah.
here. But yeah, so if they're saying, well, I don't know how I would fit that into my schedule or my family, you're doing a challenge coming up soon that's amazing, that can help wrap their brains around it a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I am hosting a 3-day event next week. It's called Meal Planning Simplified, and it just simplifies everything. I mean, basically, around dinner time, I'm going to walk you through the steps that I take each week. I like to say I'm going to walk you through the steps that I take and the thoughts that I think every week to make dinner time easy, simple, a quality family time, and really talking about both sides of dinner time, like we were talking about earlier, that routine that you can have set up so when it is dinner time, you're not spending an hour in the kitchen. Nobody has that kind of time. Nobody wants to spend that kind of time. And so when you can set yourself up to get the meal on the table quickly and easily, that's a game changer. And then also that the tools and the resources for what do you do with picky eaters. I have so many tools and strategies that work so well for picky eaters. And yes, I know that kids can be picky, right? And I don't even like that word because, like, we all have preferences, right? But it's not even a pickiness. It's like today I like pears and tomorrow I don't like pears, right? It's like, it doesn't even
Mhm.
make any
Or
sense.
like
It's like,
today, I'll only eat things that are blue. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you're just
It's
like,
always
okay,
interesting.
so yeah, so now what do I do? And so it's really those things that pop up that you can have tools and resources for without making a second meal. I hear that all the time. I don't want to make more than one meal, and you don't have to. And so that's what this event is going to cover, is exactly what I do to make it simple to get the meal on the table, but also the tools and strategies for, okay, what happens when, I can get the meal on the table, but these other things happen that really, kind of throw things off. And so really just keeping that routine in place, and keeping everybody calm, and that really does start with us. And so, yeah, it's a event I've done in the past. It's really been a real big eye opener for moms who do walk away from this event realizing how much impact they can have with small changes, right? Again, we're not going to change everything at once, right? Just
Mhm.
like you were saying, Jodie, that's not the way it works. But where do I start? Right? Where
Yeah.
do I start to get on the path to those results, and the power that you can have, and just so many quick wins that you can put into place with some small changes. So that event is next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Mm.
Uh, and I can share the link. And yeah, you can check that out and join us. There'll be replays available if you can't make it live, because I know life is busy, but it's definitely worth checking out, because it really can change dinner time. So,
That. Yeah, go ahead and pop the link in and I'll put it up on the screen. I
okay.
love that, you were saying the steps that you take and the thoughts that you think,
Mhm. Yep.
because that makes the difference. It really does. It's how we think about it first. It's our perspective on things, and shifting those thoughts, and just those little tweaks and the steps, those little tweaks and the mindset around it can really make big results. And
Yeah.
so I love that you're going to be sharing those, little shifts that people can make and what they can get started with. And then they can go from there. Once you can think that new thought and and know where to start, then the rest can start to follow. We're
Yeah.
really able then to do that. So we definitely want to make sure that they are in your space, in your community. And here I'm going to, give me a second. Can you see where the public comments are?
No.
Okay, let me grab it. Hold on. Well, I'm going to give them two things. There
It
we
just says
go.
that I'm not allowed to. I can see it, I should say. It just tells me I'm not allowed to put
They're
anything.
just not cooperating with us. So
Yeah.
that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually give everybody the links to both of our free things up here, which I think is going to be good. So first, we're going to do your challenge, which is going to pop up in just 1 second. Here we go. There it is. So you can join the free 3-day challenge at this link, and we'll make sure it's in the comments of all the places where this is going as well. And then I actually have an offer as well, just a free
Yes.
guide. So we were talking about shifting the mindset and shifting some of the I lost us there for a second. We're having
No
big
worries.
storms today. Yeah, we're having big like thunder and lightning, and my husband's flight's delayed.
Oh,
It's a
no.
whole thing. So we've been doing good so far. So it's
Yeah.
just
You
a
came back.
momentary tweak there. But yeah, so I have a guide to totally free 5 things you can say to your kids for more positive behaviors, as well as high self-esteem. So it helps with the pickiness as well, because I do have a program myself that teaches parents how to speak into their kids' subconscious minds, to work again as a team, to work together versus at cross purposes, to help them instill that positive unconditional love and self-esteem and acceptance. And it can help with the picky eating.
Right.
And, for lack of that better term,
Right.
it can, and yeah, I love even that shift right there. Care is huge. Picky versus preferences.
Yep.
Think about that. If you just think about it a slightly different way, like, okay, and you talk about it that way,
Mhm.
instead of saying, well, you're so picky, then that becomes their identity, right? Of, they're picky. And then that is like the self fulfilling prophecy, basically. You're saying, like, I understand that today you don't prefer pears,
Yep.
and you're creating that culture of let's work together, right? It sounds
Yeah,
different. Like,
it does.
okay, I hear you. Today you're telling me you don't prefer pears. All right, so let's figure out this together. And like you said, that culture of trying all those little tiny tweaks makes such a huge difference. So you're going to see that in this guide that I'm going to give you all, and it's going to explain. It's kind of say it this way instead, and this is the kind of result you can expect and why. And so it really breaks down some of the science, the psychology behind that, so that you can see what some of those little tweaks could be that you could make, where it can really make all of the difference. And so I'm going to go ahead and pop that in here right now for everybody. So you get 2 free resources today, which is fabulous, that are going to help for that back to school transition routine. Because again, we know that that can be a difference in schedule for everyone. It can be a difference in, shifting energy and shifting our mindsets towards, getting the kids back up every morning and getting them out the door and then rushing back. And like you said, whether they're sports or whatever's going on after school, having those connection points and setting that temperature absolutely can really build your relationship. This is such a good year. I feel like when we're at the beginning of a school year, it's like a fresh start. It's like a new opportunity of like, what culture do you want to create in your family this year? Like, how do you want to build your relationship in your family this
Yeah.
year? How can you have that team mentality this year? And so thank you so much for having this conversation with me to help provide that resource for families to figure out how to do that. Because again, it is all figure outable. We just have to get to that
Absolutely.
space where we understand what that next best step is for us. And so, Kara, is there anything you'd like to share as we close out today?
No, I mean, I think this has been a really great conversation, and I love the work you do. And I mean, I've known about the work you do, but just this conversation, there's so much overlap, right? Or the same concepts that you can bring into onto the dinner table. So I love it. Just some mindset shifts can be game changers, right? And that isn't trying to change anybody else, just us, and it can make a world of difference. So I've loved this conversation.
Me too. It's been so good. And I know we're in each other's communities. We'll definitely be talking more and collaborating more. So thank you so much for being here with me. Thanks everybody for watching. And we are looking forward to supporting you in this transition in back to school. I know, I can't believe we have 1 week left, and then it's Labor Day and it's
No.
September, and a lot of people are already back in school. So I think this is going to be really helpful. So take care, everyone, and we will see you soon.
Bye.